Hi, this is Mr. Evans. This video looks at evaluating strategic performance. It's this bullet point here in the specification. And we can define evaluating strategic performance as critically assessing the extent to which the execution of a strategy is likely to achieve its stated objectives. So what we're doing when we are evaluating the performance of a strategy is we're coming back to this cycle that really the whole of the A-level course is about. This managing strategic, all of these units, 3.7 through 3.10, they're all about this process of creating a strategy, implementing it, and then reviewing it. And the evaluation of the strategy is the last stage, as it were, before we make some adjustments and go back to the beginning and just check that we're on course. So what do we need to do in order to evaluate our strategic performance? Well, the first thing that we need to do is we need to clearly identify the objective that the strategy is meant to achieve. So if we look at this, the first thing that we do is we set a mission statement, and that sets out what the organisation is trying to achieve. From that, once we've conducted our internal and external analysis, which we looked at in Unit 7, we then set really clear corporate objectives before we create our strategy. So the first stage in reviewing a strategy is, do we have a really clear idea of what we're trying to achieve? Stage 2, have we identified really clear parameters by which to measure success? And what I mean by that is, how are we judging whether we've achieved our objectives? Okay, so are our objectives to sell more products to men? In which case, how are we measuring that? Is that number of units sold? Is it brand awareness? Is it any other measure that you can think of? Profitability? Have we got a really clear parameter, target, by which we can measure our success and see how we're getting along? If we don't, it's going to be very difficult to judge what we're actually aiming at. Once we've set our parameters for success, whether we're aiming for market share, increase in sales, growth through moving abroad, for example, we set the strategy in order to do that. Now, once we've set the strategy, we can break the plan down into its component parts. Most strategies will require a number of stages to, a number of things to occur. My strategy when I'm teaching is always the same. The strategy is teach knowledge, teach exam technique. But that's broken down into component parts. These videos are part of that building knowledge. You know, we work on exam technique in class. That's my strategy. Now I can break that down into its component parts and set success criteria and a time frame for the completion of each component. So in this case, it might be students achieving a particular grade in the end of unit assessment. But that needs to be done by a particular time. Then a key thing is to communicate the strategy and set clear targets for the functional areas to achieve. So once we have broken down the plan, we know what the success criteria look like, what the goalposts are that we need to hit on the way for setting that strategy. We let the functional areas know what they're going to do, we communicate it, and we set clear targets so it's really clear how each functional area, how the marketing department is assisting us in achieving the success of this strategy, how the operations department is helping us in achieving the success of this strategy. Okay, what are their goals? Once we've set goals and it's really clear for everyone in the organisation what they're doing towards achieving the organisation's strategy, we need to review performance. There are a number of ways of doing that. One way might be the informal day-to-day management. Does it feel like we're on track? When, you know, as a manager, when I'm talking to my staff, does it feel like they know what they're doing? Are they clear on what their objectives are? And are their actions every day taking steps to achieve those objectives? We might have a more kind of formal monthly, quarterly, or every 6 months we conduct a review. Maybe we sit down with a team meeting, maybe we conduct it one-to-one, but some a more formalised way on a regular basis of checking the performance. You know, how close are we to achieving our goals? And then a lot of this will be formalised into annual performance reviews for staff, and there's the annual general meeting for shareholders. So, you know, at least on an annual basis, we have a fairly major review of how our strategy is getting on. And the most important thing is then we adjust the strategy to prevent strategic drift. You know, there's lots of quotes about planning, but basically it's better to get started and adjust your plan as you're going along, than, you know, trying to spend loads of time coming up with the best plan. This strategic performance review is crucial to us adjusting our strategy, getting the strategy better, and allowing us to hit our objectives. Once again, it you know, is really clearly stated here in the strategic planning cycle that we've got to evaluate and review.